Hey everybody, welcome back to Lineup or Fade, your weekly sports betting analysis show, and I am your girl Brittany B, aka Caprice. It's week 4 of the NFL, and I want to apologize, y'all. I took 2 weeks off. I dropped the pilot episode week 1, and then here comes week 2, week 3. There's nothing there for you guys. I want to apologize, but I wanted to master the workflow, get everything together, upgrade the equipment, make sure that I had everything that I need to make sure that we succeed this season. So we're still early in the game, and trust me, we're going to maintain. So we're going to kick it off week 4. You know I'm here to give you some more. All right. So let's start by talking about the fact that Vegas is absolutely cleaning up on us out here, y'all. We getting toe up. Like the public, I don't know. Well, I say we, because I just want to make you feel better. But y'all getting toe up out here. You know what I'm saying? If you're not on your shit, okay, Vegas is the one you're the one Vegas gonna get, okay? Because weeks 1, 2, 3, you name the top 5 most public bets. Vegas has been cleaning house on 4 out of those 5 bets. So let me know how you surviving in the comments. Like, are y'all getting some money out here? What's going on? And then to top it off with the struggling NFL offense, like the lows of, I can't remember the year, but they haven't hit these lows. And it's nothing going on really, offensively. A lot of people try to, say, oh, everybody's playing cover 2 defense, this is but it's just like, and I told y'all week 1 on the show, I said, listen, a lot of games was dropping in totals, a lot of unders were trending, and a lot of them hit. Okay, so let's see how that adjusts this week, and if any changes are going to be made, and once people start catching up on schemes, we'll see a lot of more breakout plays, a lot more things going on. But just to recap what's going on so far, as far as what happened on Thursday night, I am coming to you Saturday. You see, College Saturday was a long one for us, but I'm here. I wanted to give you guys a show, so I couldn't think of any other place that I'd rather be than giving you the best of me. So I say, you know what, it's late here on the East Coast, but I'm gonna tell you something that was special about this show. I'm in a non-gambling state, like I'm in Georgia, so we can't even place bets on spreads and totals, and that's all I really talk about. I could focus my show on player props and things like prize picks and pick this and whatever they do let you do legally. I don't know what the loophole is. You can bet on players, but you can't bet the spread and the total. But I'm here to give you the line. Call me the line queen. I'm here to give you the line, the sign, the total, and a lot of people can't even bet that here in Georgia. So, but I'm doing it for you guys over there on the West Coast. I know I got some fans. Potential fans over there in Nevada, of course, Colorado. East Coast, I know y'all stay up late because Sunday's the big day, and we should be prepping for this like it's such, because this is a job, this is our homework. We're not going over there just to throw our little money away. We like to play, to do what? To get paid. So with that being said, let's go back to Thursday night, Seattle at Arizona. Okay, I think that line closed with Arizona getting 1.5 from Seattle. Heavy money was coming in on Seattle. A lot of people was really buying into that, and I don't know what they saw in Arizona that they didn't believe in, but I thought it was going to be a snooze. That's what I thought it was going to be. I thought that, the trap was Vegas is setting up, making us watch this damn game, but I was wrong. They proved me wrong. At the end, it ended up being a great game. I think it was, they only had 6 points, Arizona. I ended up started watching it, and Kyler Murray was determined to bring this offense back to life. Unfortunately, at the end, they just came up a little bit short. It's just a little bit short, but it ended up being a good game. Arizona didn't cover. Seattle did get it done. So I don't know if there's, Vegas is they starting to give us a little something. How they break it in, but like I said, hindsight is 20/20. I don't like to tell you too much about what you should have done with your money at that point, but it did end up being a good game. But let me tell y'all about some backdoor BS. Remember I told you week 1 backdoor BS? Yes, that's the segment that we're going to do during the recap, where you go over some games that may have happened during the week, or something that happened a couple days ago where everything was going right, but the back door was left open overnight. You hear me? So basically what it means, some people call it a bad beat, but basically it's something to where you was almost guaranteed to cover, but it ended up being something to sort of another. So basically what I'm going to put on the table for backdoor BS this week is that got Philadelphia at a LA game. Okay, I like the Rams, man. The Rams have been covering, showing a lot of good things. So I was on the Rams taking those points, and they was leading the whole game. It was looking real sweet. Okay, halftime. Okay, you know the Eagles, they gonna come back. They gonna try to put something on the board, but you know what? The Rams was winning up into the very end. I don't even think that the Eagles led that game into the end, but don't quote me on that. But what I will say is that the Rams were setting up for a game-winning field goal. No time really left on the board. And I'll be damned, this shit ain't blocked and ran back for a touchdown. Going from your whole win and cover to, call your mother and see if you can hold something, because you just lost on that bet. But yeah, that's backdoor BS. We call that, you know what? Backdoor BS, okay? All right, but let's get into it. I'm not going to hold y'all. I want to get you this information because I know you need it, okay? So 1 p.m. slate, we're going to start it off. We got the Chargers at the New York Giants, all right? This line opened up. The Giants was getting 3.5, okay? Total 43.5. Is now up to 6.5. All right, Chargers laying 6.5. Totals 43.5. But it's spreading out. All right, so 3.5. 6.5, that's a whole 3 points that this joint done moved up. We got Justin Herbert and Jackson Dart, y'all. He's gonna get his first start, all right? After all the woes, Russ, listen, I get it, I get it. But let's start on the Chargers side of the ball, okay? So the Chargers are 3-0 straight up, all right? 3-0 against the spread, okay? And Justin Herbert leads the NFL with 860 yards passing this season. And the defense has only allowed an average of 16.7 points per game, and that's the fourth best in the NFL, all right? And the Chargers started their season with victories over 3 AFC West opponents. That's a statement, you know what I'm saying? Coming into the season, beating 3 division opponents back to back, all right? But they did just lose the running back Najee Harris for the season due to an Achilles injury, okay? And also, rookie Amarian Hampton stepped up, though, when he went out with 70 yards rushing and a touchdown. So it's good to have some depth in the chart, when you get into the meat of the season, injuries are prone to happen. But also on the injury side, guard Mekhi Becton, concussion, and wide receiver Darius Davis with his knee, and tight end Will Disley with his knee are probably going to be out for this game. So let's flip to the Giants side of the ball. Of course, the main story with this game, Russell Wilson benched. He went 0-3, first 3 games to the Giants. Okay, the change was made after Wilson threw those pair of interception, okay? In that last game, the 22-9 home loss against Kansas City last weekend, all right? And the fans was out there chanting, "We want Dart. We want Dart. We want Dart." Okay? So they're going to give him to him. And, okay, 0-3, 1-2 against the spread. But it's not like, Russ wasn't having wasn't putting up some points, wasn't making some things happen. But on the defense, the Giants have just struggled, okay? 405 yards allowed per game, all right? 153 rushing yards per game allowed, all right? But good news is Malik Neighbors is good to go for Sunday. But the Giants did rule out running back Tyrone Tracy Jr. and defensive lineman Chauncey Golston. All right, so I'm going to tell you what I think about this game. Rookie quarterback, LA Chargers, less than a touchdown. I don't know, because you don't know when they pull out a new trick out the bag, you never know what you're going to get. But honestly, to me, this is one of those, I think I'm going to have to go with the Chargers if I was to do anything with this game. I mean, you're going to have to just show me. They haven't shown me that they can't win yet. Although they're on the road, I think Giants might be a little bit deflated. All right. I think we might have to take the Chargers on this one, but Let's go ahead to the next game. We got Philadelphia at Tampa Bay. All right. This one opened up at Tampa Bay plus 2.5. All right. And then the total was 48.5. It's now Tampa Bay plus 3.5. All right. So the Eagles are laying 3.5 on the road. Man, the Eagles, let me tell you something. Since the last time the Eagles played Tampa Bay last year, okay, they're on an incredible 19-1 run since the last visit, and that's almost exactly 1 year ago today, including the Super Bowl win and some more. Okay, they just keep winning. All right, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to attempt to interrupt the best stretch in the Eagles' history when they host the only clash of 3-0 teams Sunday afternoon. Okay, so that's going to be a battle to see who's going to come out of there with the first L of the season, all right? But check this out. Hurts is 1-3 against Tampa Bay, all right, including a playoff defeat in his career, all right? And then meanwhile, the slow start continued against LA for the Eagles star Saquon Barkley, who's off pace from his 2,000-yard campaign last season. So we're going to see if we can get him active on the rushing side of the ball for Philadelphia, and because he makes a difference, honestly. I mean, the last year that you can't argue with me that he wasn't a pivotal point of why they won and actually won and went to the Super Bowl. All right, so on the Tampa Bay side of the ball, not surprisingly, I mean, Tampa Bay's kind of been dominating the NFC South for a few years now, but they're 3-0 straight up. All right, 2-1 against the spread, and the defense hasn't allowed a 100-yard rusher in a league leading 11 straight games. So their rushing defense has been containing people. So I'm looking to see what Saquon is going to be able to do. Is he going to get any let up right here in this spot? But the wins this season for Tampa Bay have been anywhere near, they haven't been lopsided or anything like that. Basically, all three victories have been decided by a total of 6 points, if you break it down. And Mike Evans still been out multiple weeks with his hamstring injury. But ESPN did report that the Bucs could see the season debut of wideout Chris Godwin and left tackle Tristan Wirfs this week. So what the question on my end is Tampa Bay for real, or is this fool's gold? Because, you had the close win in Atlanta week 1. I get it, division opponent, And then last week was close. I mean, 6 points, all 3 wins. And but Philadelphia only got by the head of their chinny chin chin last week with LA as well. And you got to be due for an L sometime. But like I always said, I had library books that was due too. They ain't get turned in. So what's going to happen right now? We're going to have to see how it plays out. Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, total is dropping. Like I said, it opened up at 48.5. It's down to 44.5. Are they anticipating a defensive game? I mean, honestly, at this spot, I want to lean Tampa Bay simply because I could see Philly pulling out a close 3-point victory or something of the sort, maybe less than that. Or even Tampa Bay winning straight out. But I wouldn't be surprised either if Tampa Bay got exposed for just the mediocre team that they probably are. So this one I highlighted just, because I know people like to play the popular teams, and Philly's out here flying high, and we'll see what happens. But just a note on that game, the under has hit 4-1 head-to-head on their last 5 matchups. So look for, like I said, that total is dropping. So look at that one. All right, on the move, we're going to the Washington Commanders at the Atlanta Falcons. Lord, I know y'all saw my rant. Last week after the Atlanta Falcons went out there and laid that big old egg, 30-0. I mean, historic loss. I don't even want to talk about that any further, but we're going to cap this game down as best we can, without having to rehash those wounds. I'm already going through things. But so this game opened up with Atlanta getting 3.5 points from the Commanders. It went down, and they're only getting 2 points now. So it's Commanders -2, and that could be because Jaden Daniels, of course, is not playing, and Marcus Mariota is getting the start. But however, Marcus Mariota went out there and played formidable last week. Okay, and this is also a homecoming for him and Dan Quinn, the head coach, who used to be the Falcons head coach when they went to the Super Bowl. And I'm not going to give you the numbers, but it went something like something 8-3, Anyway. But Washington's 2-1 straightened up. They're 2-1 against the spread. And Quinn said Daniels was doing everything he could to get back on the field. But he practiced this week with a protective brace, and honestly, they're not going to rush it. I mean, it's not worth it. We got plenty of season left. Let's let him get healthy. But like I said, Mariota filled in admirably in their 41-24 victory over the Raiders in his first start since his 2022 season with the Falcons. He threw for 207 yards, had a touchdown, and got another one on the ground. One in the air, one on the ground. And Commanders wide receiver Terry McLaurin's streak of 72 consecutive games will come to an end because he didn't practice this week and probably will not play. On the Atlanta side of the football, one win against the Minnesota Vikings that had us looking like, had the Falcons looking like they were, number one defense in the league. That's what they were being called because that's what they were at the time. But unfortunately, not only were they holding people to very little points, they haven't scored any points. The Atlanta Falcons have a total of 3 touchdowns, I think, for the total season. No touchdowns to their top wide receivers, tight ends, none of the sort. And I think one of them was just a gimme touchdown. So, and I know for a fact, I remember the other one that Penix ran it in. So basically, ain't nobody got no touchdowns, okay? People on the Atlanta offense are hungry to get the ball. People is under fire. And in response to that, Raheem Morris fires the wide receivers coach. I don't know why. What was that going to do? He wasn't doing anything wrong, but heads had to roll. And also offensive coordinator Zach Robinson, he's going to step down from actually calling plays in the coach's booth up top. He's going to come down to the field to do the play calling from here on out as far as everything is concerned. But cornerback AJ Terrell has hamstring problems going on, and wide receiver Cordero Hodge both did not practice or participate this week and have been ruled out for Sunday. And honestly, I just know Dan Quinn probably wants to put that thou on the Falcons every time he comes in there. So even though that line kind of dropped down, I don't really have faith in the Falcons right now. I don't believe that they kind of, went into some bag of tricks and they're going to pull it out against some of the teams that just seem to be better coached, better prepared, just more ready for the moment. And I wish I was saying it to just say, let me say that and hope it works out another way. But honestly, I'm just calling it like I see it. And to top it all off, Washington is 5-0 against the spread head-to-head against the Falcons. So, but do with that information as you wish. We're going to keep it moving, though. Next up, we got Cleveland at Detroit, okay? This one opened up Detroit minus 10.5, total 45.5. It's at 10 still. I've been seeing it. We'll see how that moves on Sunday. But 10 points, totals 44.5, 1 point drop. You got Joe Flacco versus Jared Goff. And Cleveland, man, they're only 1-2 straight up, 2-1 ATS, but surprisingly, Cleveland has the best defense in the NFL right now. And main problem is that Flacco's been intercepted 4 times, while throwing for only 631 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he's been unable to ignite the offense. And it only ranks 30th in the NFL in scoring with 15.3 points averaged, okay? But they're staying with him. We're not seeing Dylan Gabriel right now. We're not seeing Shador. They're kind of staying what kind of works for them because, honestly, you saw last week how they hung in there. Well, actually, they won it. They won against Green Bay. And, leading with the Russian defense, like they're only allowing 57.3 yards per game, okay? And they've shut down Cincinnati's Chase Brown, Baltimore's Derrick Henry, and Green Bay's Josh Jacobs, okay? So coming off that 13-10 win over the Green Bay Packers, this one could be interesting, all right? And then when you look at Detroit on the other side of the ball, they're straight up 2-1, ATS 2-1. And after losing to Green Bay week 1, they was looking like they were back to being the old Lions, okay? But since then, they racked up 90 points and 937 yards over the past 2 weeks while appearing to be an unstoppable offensive unit. All right. So they outclassed the Baltimore Ravens 38-30 behind 224 rushing yards and 7 sacks on Monday night. Lions will test Cleveland's sturdy defense with the potent David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs combo. So Montgomery rushed for a career high of 151 yards against the Ravens, and Gibbs chipped in with 67. And both players rushed for 2 touchdowns. So we're going to see if Detroit has enough to kind of penetrate that Cleveland defense. But I'm gonna step out there on a limb and say 10 points is too much. It's too much in this spot. I don't think Cleveland's going to give up fighting, and obviously if a team like that is not giving you much offensively but still hanging in there with the likes of people like Green Bay, shutting down the people on the list that I just named, we're going to have to, Detroit's going to have to go in there bag of trips, and I know they got a lot of them. We've seen them hang 54 on somebody or 40-something on somebody just the other day. But, yeah, 10 might be a little too much. You know, it could be a 7, could be an 8. I mean, I'm not saying I would be surprised if there was a blowout, but 10 totals only at 44, 45. Like I'm saying, they're not even giving you a whole bunch. They're not even saying that a whole bunch of points are going to be scored. So, but again, Detroit is at home in the Lions' den, and typically when Lions are in the den, they will feast. Okay, but moving on to the next game, we got Tennessee at Houston. Okay, now this one I was going to leave off. I wasn't going to talk about it because this week I'm not going to talk about all 16 games. I'm trying to get y'all the information that y'all want to hear about, the games that y'all want to hear about. But I added this one on because where do they get off? Vegas, where you get off, okay? You got 2 0-3 teams, okay? One of them in Houston hasn't even covered all season. Houston 0-3 straight up and against the spread. And lo and behold, they are favored in this situation by 7 points, okay? This one's kind of fishy to me. It's more to be broken down for this game. So I'm going to go ahead and have to put the trap stamp on this game. I'm going to put the trap stamp on this game just because y'all know damn well we don't want to watch this game. And on top of that, you got the Houston Texans and a struggling CJ Stroud favored by 7 points, all right? But let's get into it. So you got Cam Ward, CJ Stroud. Man, Cam Ward, he just ain't really, he hasn't really gotten into himself, all right? Number 1 draft pick over there at Tennessee. He's shown flashes of the ability that led to the Titans taking him at number 1, but he's been sacked a league high of 15 times, all right? 15 times. And Tennessee could be operating without starting right tackle J.C. Latham and guard Kevin Zettler. So it ain't getting no easier. The protection is limited, and all of those hits have already landed him on the injury report with ankle and calf issues. So put out all this together, he's still a full participant on Thursday in practice, and he's expected to get the start on Sunday. But on the Tennessee side of the ball, I guess maybe that's why that 7 is out there for Houston, because it just ain't really much to be said on, for them. But at the same time, I mean, can Houston, I'm just looking at it, 0-3 straight up, 0-3 against the spread, 0-3 on the total. Nothing's going on offensively, nothing's going on too much defensively. Well, I won't say that because the defense has been doing its best, but I guess they're just not getting any help. But the biggest concern might be the status of the cornerback, Darius Stingley Jr., and the right tackle, Titus Howard, all right? They both missed practice on Wednesday, and although the chances of Howard suiting up Sunday appear better than Stingley's, they need all the help they can get. And Stroud has again struggled time and time to get his receivers timed up, as the offensive line hasn't been able to consistently provide him with the clean pocket. And Houston is bottom 10 in total yards, passing yards, rushing yards, all right, as well as time of possession. Nah, I probably wouldn't put no money on this. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I couldn't lay those 7 points with Houston. But it's hard to almost points with Tennessee. Although they did have a good showing the first game in Denver, they covered that spread and didn't, get embarrassed or anything like that. So, but something is telling me that look for Houston maybe to break out, because that 7 is sticking out there for a reason. All right. Next game, we got New Orleans at Buffalo. All right, this one opened up at Buffalo minus 12.5 with a total of 46.5. It's now minus 15.5, and the total is 48.5. So it's spreading out, and it's got a total that's on the move. So I don't know what they're trying to tell y'all, but just know that Buffalo has scored 30 points in every contest this season, and probably dating back further than that. And on the other hand, straight up, New Orleans has not won a game they've not covered, but 2-0 to the over for the games that they've played in. But saying that, when you look at it, New Orleans has had opportunities to tie or take the lead late in the fourth quarter of both the home losses to Arizona and San Fran to start the season. However, last week in the first road game of the season, the signs started to tell, because they fell behind Seattle 21-0 after less than 11 minutes, okay? And then they trailed 38-3, allowing the most first half points in franchise history, before losing ultimately 44-13. So when you got on the road, you did that to Seattle. Let Seattle do that to you. And then New Orleans' 31 penalties are tied for the most. And Buffalo, on the other hand, their 14 penalties per game that they average, they tied for the league lowest in the league. But Saints starting left guard Trevor Penning will make his first start of the season after suffering a toe injury in the preseason opener. That's some bum ass shit. But like I said, Buffalo, on the other hand, 3-0 straight up, 2-1 against the spread. They haven't played since last Thursday. They played the Thursday night game, so they are, benefiting from that long little rest. But they won that one 31-21 with that Miami game. Miami was looking good, though. Miami was moving the ball on them. Tua just happened to throw that late pick that ended up costing them the game. And But Buffalo didn't cover, I think, what was a 10.5 point spread. I can't remember on that one, but yeah, they didn't cover that one. But like I said, they've scored more than 30 points in all 3 of their games this season, and at least 30 in 12 of the last 14 regular season games. So look to see what the team total is at your local book and see if you might can find an edge on that. But the Bills, they're leading the league with an average of 420 yards per game and 163 rushing yards per game. So 8 straight games without a turnover, though, and that includes the playoffs. That was a number that interested me, that I wrote it down, that I wanted to show y'all, because those are the type of statistics that win games consistently and keep you in the loop. But that ain't gonna do nothing with the 15 points that they have to cover against these New Orleans Saints. And honestly, it's a lot of money coming in on Buffalo. It was a hard place to play. Yeah, New Orleans could honestly get spanked out there. And I never will forget when I had a friend tell me, don't be scared of those big spreads, you know. But unfortunately in the NFL, when I'm looking at them in the past few years, they don't always end up being what they need to be. And some fluky shit could come out happening. And you just got to keep your eyes open and see what's open with that one. 15 points is a lot to have to, lay. There's other games out there, but I did want to go over that one for you all. But moving on to a 4-5 matchup, we got the Indianapolis Colts at the Los Angeles Rams. Okay, now the Colts got to be the shocker of the season so far, or at least one of them. I don't know if anybody's talking about them, but they need to be. I can remember telling you week 1, I don't know why anybody would take the Colts minus 1.5, and they ended up doing a thing. Week 2, same thing. Week 3, same thing. Here we are, Daniel Jones' newfound life after moving on and kind of getting a new start, and It looks good. I'm gonna be honest with you. The Rams, I told you what happened with them earlier on Backdoor BS. They have been ATS powerhouses, and unfortunately, that block field goal sent things the other way. But let's break it down side to side. So on the Indiana side, like I said, they are 3-0 straight up, 3-0 against the spread, and they're rolling behind Daniel Jones. He's third in the NFL with 816 passing yards. He only has 3 touchdown passes this season, but he has not thrown an interception and has only been sacked just twice. Okay, and Indiana is tied for second in the NFL with 34.3 points per game. Okay, so he may not be getting it done on his own, but the team is showing up. The Colts were without a few players, though, at practice this Wednesday. Kenny Moore II, wide receiver Alec Pierce, guard Mac Goncalves, and DeForest Buckner all didn't practice. So we'll see if that has any effect of what their game plan is going into LA. But straight up, LA 2-1 against the spread, 2-1, and they're on their way to their third. Like I said, they were on their way to their third victory in 3 games before that little collapse with Philadelphia. But conservative on second down in the second half and ineffective on third down throughout the game. They kind of looked like nothing like the team that had the 19-7 lead at halftime. So kicker Joshua Carty had 2 field goals blocked, including the 44-yarder that would have won the game as time expired. But Los Angeles is the only NFL team in the top 5 in both yards allowed and defense per game, okay? So keep that in mind. The over is 8-2 in the Colts' last 10 games, and LA is 8-2 against the spread in the last 10 games. All right, 425, we got Baltimore at Kansas City. All right, this one opened up at Kansas City -1.5. It swung all the way to Baltimore -2.5. Despite both teams kind of struggling, which is kind of weird for these two AFC powerhouses. But total opened up at 48.5. It's still at 48.5. You know, it's really hard for you to tell me that, you know, Baltimore is playing somebody that could compete with them and they're not going to score almost 50 points. So I don't see that total dipping too low, but if it does, keep your eye on it. But straight up, like I said, the Ravens are 1-2 against the spread, only 1-2, but over and under 3-0. So the overs hit in all 3 games. All right, they've been lighting up the scoreboards and proving powerless though to stop opponents. All right, so they're averaging a league high 37 points per game, but they rank 31st in scoring defense. All right, and last in total defense. But in Monday's night's 38-30 loss to the Detroit Lions, the Baltimore defense was trampled for 224 rushing yards. And Lamar Jackson has a league best 9 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions in 75 attempts, and he's thrown for 722 yards. And Baltimore has scored 40 or more points in 2 of his 3 games. But unfortunately, star running back Derrick Henry, although he ranks 4th in the NFL with 242 rushing yards and has 3 scores, he has fumbled 3 times, losing 2. All right, and that was frustrating. I know that was frustrating him last game in that loss. So I know the Ravens, they just looking to kind of get everything together. They just want that, that one little piece, like that one. They just need one. I don't know what it is they're missing, but hopefully they'll find success. But moving on to KC on the other side of the ball, straight up 1-2, and then I guess the spread 1-2. And they started the season with consecutive setbacks for the first time since 2014 before recording a mediocre 22-9 victory over the New York Giants last Sunday. And the typical firepower of Patrick Mahomes-led offense has been missing, all right? But Mahomes is their leading rusher with 125 yards, and that's saying a lot, y'all. Where's the run game? But Kansas City has won 6 of the past 7 meetings with the Ravens, including a 17-10 victory in the 2023 season AFC Championship game. This one's going to be fun. I think both teams are going to wake up. But what the reality of is unless there's a tie, either the Ravens or the Chiefs, they're going to be leaving out of their 1-3 record attached to their name. So we're going to find out what happens with that one on Sunday. I like the Chiefs with the points at home, but offensively, Baltimore's been showing way more. So if we could get Derrick Henry to hold on to the ball, if we can get Lamar to keep playing the way that he's been playing, I mean, I don't think it's no reason why Baltimore shouldn't get this game. However, Kansas City does appear to have that team's number. So, all right, and then finally, we're going to leave it off with the Green Bay and the Dallas game. I think this one might be the game of the week, the one everybody wants to see. It's Micah Parsons homecoming to Dallas. The man said he still got his suite. He said they couldn't refund it, they couldn't sell it, so he plans to pack it out with a whole bunch of green and gold, all right? But let's see if Green Bay gonna hold or they gonna fold, all right? So it opened up. Dallas was getting 2.5 points. Green Bay minus 2.5, all right? Now it's up to 7. Green Bay minus 7. Dallas is getting 7 points from them at home, all right? The total's 47.5. It's floating around 47. And I'm anxious to see what's going on. We got Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, straight up. All right, Green Bay is 2-1 against the spread, 2-1 straight up. 0-3 to the total though. Nothing has gone over. They've been real stingy, and I wouldn't say they have been, just lighting up the scoreboard, or they were prior to linking up with the number 1 defense in the NFL in the Cleveland Browns last week and losing that matchup. But Micah's returning to Dallas after only 31 days of that stunning trade that sent him out of town. And Parsons is the only player in the league right now with 8+ pressures in multiple games this season, despite playing only 116 total snaps, okay? So the Packers lost last week 13-10 at Cleveland, but they carry a 5-game winning streak against the Cowboys going into Sunday, all right? And they're also undefeated at AT&T Stadium. Yes, so since AT&T Stadium has been in existence, Green Bay has been owning that motherfucker, so keep that in mind. And they admitted that they got to address their own offensive line issues, though, and that's a priority for the Packers, who failed to control the Browns' front seven. All right, and moving on to the Dallas side of the ball, straight up, they're 1-2, 1-2 against the spread also. And Parsons is missed in Dallas. I mean, we're just going to keep it plain. The pass defense is dead last in the NFL, and the Cowboys have allowed an average of nearly 20 points in the first half alone, okay, through 3 games. And big plays are biting them consistently. They gave up 37 in their lone win. All right. In a win, they gave up 37 points and stumbled at Chicago last week in a 31-14 defeat. And then to make matters worse, number 1 wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, he played only the first quarter last week and is likely to miss the next 2 games with a high ankle sprain. All right. And they're also without rookie guard Tyler Booker and won't have starting center Cooper Beebe. All right, so like I said, Green Bay, 9-1 straight up in the last 10 head-to-head, all right? Last 10 matchup, Green Bay's hitting 90% of the time, all right? And that Green Bay is also hitting 8-2 against the spread in the last 10 head-to-head. All right, and so with that being said, that brings us to fade it or love it. Let me know what you think about this game. Dallas +7, fade it or love it. Let me know in the comments. Dallas +7, fade it or love it. But yes, y'all, this has been Lineup or Fade. I'm your girl, Brittany B, aka Caprice. Thank you for watching, all right? Hit me up on X, all right? TikTok, Instagram, all handles at Lineup or Fade. And don't forget, y'all, play to get paid.